witness one of the most powerful things that the country has got to witness in the last few weeks is the united front that India has presented on the global stage. Opposition members of parliament have joined cross party delegations in taking India's message to global capitals. Key among these faces has been Priyanka Chaturvedi, Shiv Sena member of parliament, who has combined fierce passion, anger, emotion, as well as sarcasm, humor, and wit when needed to be an effective advocate for India's message on Operation Sindoor. We'll be talking to Priyanka Chaturvedi in a moment from now. I'm Barkha Dutt. You're with the Mojo Story. Our focus continues to be on all the dimensions of Operation Sindoor, the geopolitics, the politics at home, the united front that India has taken against Pakistan, sending out a clear signal that enough is enough, no more. And if you try to inflict pain on India, then there will be a cost to it. That was the big message of Operation Sindoor. And we have seen rare bipartisan unity with key members of the opposition joining cross-party delegations as they travel to global capitals across the world. Among these, one of the most prominent ambassadors of the India message has been Priyanka Chaturvedi, member of parliament from the Shiv Sena UBT group. Her speech when she reminded Pakistan and the world that India may be the land of Mahatma Gandhi and Gautam Buddha, but it is also the land of Krishna went viral. Her use of wit, sarcasm, and humor, her mimicry of Bilawal Bhutto also went viral. She has been, alongside other leaders like Shashi Tharoor, Manish Tiwari from the opposition, a great and effective brand ambassador for the India story. But there are questions that arise as these delegations come home. Are these members of parliament at odds sometimes with the politics being played here in India? There's a lot to talk about. I want to welcome our newsmaker to the program today. Priyanka Chaturvedi is with us. Good to see you, Priyanka. And I want to start actually by just saying thank you from all of us for being such an effective ambassador. I watched you, I tweeted you, and I was filled with admiration. So thank you so much for everything that you've done. What made somebody like you decide to bury your differences, to put aside your role as a fierce critic of the Modi government and rise to the occasion?
So, firstly, thank you so much for Barkha for your kind words and your show of support, even on Twitter. Yeah, it was at a time when I was representing India more than my political party at that time, and my political party also was very clear that we have to advocate for the cause of India and the terrorism emanating out of Pakistan. So these words of support that I was getting was very encouraging. So thank you so much. And Barkha, I'm sure you would remember post 2611. My start into the political journey was post 2611. It moved me a lot, and I felt that I should contribute to the politics of India. We handheld a group of women, handheld victims of the terror attacks, 2611 terror attacks. So I have seen the cost of terrorism up close and personal. I've seen how families are destroyed. I see how their children's lives are disrupted, and what it does to families. And and that is the resolve with which I began. I remember being on your show post 2611 when we were hand holding these victims, and my resolve only got stronger after being part of your show that I need to contribute more towards the society and the politics of it. And that is how my political trajectory began. So I was very clear that any terror attack on our country coming from Pakistan, I will call it out in all its form, irrespective of politics, irrespective about which political party is in power, but to be impactful enough to be able to call out Pakistan. So it is with that resolve that I went as part of the delegation, and I think the words that went viral, the speeches that went viral, I'm grateful to the nation, but it was a reminder that what we have been facing over the years coming from Pakistan, also a reminder of what India stands for and how united India has been after the Pahalgam terror attacks, where Pakistan tried to divide Indian society on the basis of religion.
Thank you for mentioning 2611, because I don't know how many people know that when 2611 happened, you were not in politics then. Today's generation associates you with politics. You were just an angry, impassioned citizen. And I remember meeting you on my show right after 2611. I was with NDTV then, and we were doing this big show, and you were right there raising your voice. So thank you for remembering that. I want to ask you to talk about your very viral speech. The speech which said, we are from the land of Gandhi and Buddha, but we are also from the land of Krishna. And I think it got shared everywhere. And I think you were trying to say, don't mistake our non-violent spirit for turning the other cheek. So talk a little bit about that speech.
See, Barkha, I am a deeply spiritual person. I don't wear religion on my sleeve, but I am deeply spiritual. And Bhagavad Gita has been a source of solace for me and has been a way of life for me ever since I remember. So I have taken a lot of experiences of my own based on and decisions of my own by reading the Bhagavad Gita. So I was reminding the people of this country that our land, the land of the Bharatvarsh as we know it, also has lessons to learn from Bhagwan Shri Krishna. And there is a moment where Arjuna refuses to lift his arms against his family, where he says, whenever when you see a rise in adharm, to establish dharma, you will have to go for war, even if it is with your family. So that was a reminder that yes, we are a tolerant nation, but if you come and mess in our country, then we will not hesitate in teaching you a lesson. So this is what we are establishing dharma again with the adharm coming from Pakistan through terrorism. So that was my message. I'm glad it resonated with the people of the country, simply because this entire idea of do not escalate, de-escalate. We have never escalated. We have only responded to the escalation that comes from there, which is violent. Their escalations are violent, while our targeted response was towards the terror camps that impact our country.
Yeah. Speak a little bit about another viral moment in your travels when you mimic Bilawal Bhutto. Bilawal Bhutto, and it's really ironic. This man's mother has been assassinated by terrorists that have been nurtured by the Pakistani deep state. The Pakistani military turned on Benazir Bhutto when Musharraf was at the helm. And it's horrible in a way that, forgetting everything else, that a son would not even stand up against those who killed his mother. And I find that shocking. But I think I found your use of sarcasm, wit, mimicry at that time really effective. So I wanted to talk about that moment.
So I think it came to a point where we were seeing reports that they're sending a delegation which should be led by Bilawal Bhutto to the US, and he would be coming to Brussels. I spoke at a diaspora event in Brussels with regards to the speech, and that he would also be going to London. And we had just completed our London leg of the tour. So I thought it would make sense because he called our country in his parliament as a nation which is cowardly because it attacks at night. So I used that speech to show that what exactly being a coward is. Coward is what Bilawal Bhutto is doing. He's not standing up for his mother who was assassinated because of this deep military terror nexus. Coward is someone who is going and defending that very nexus to the world. Cowardly is the person whose own grandfather was shot dead while he was imprisoned. And the reign of General Zia ul Haq began, where he propagated the idea of Islamic jihad and attacks against India. So I think that is cowardly, where you send terrorists across the border in your fight against India. You send terrorists across the border and you harm our civilians. How cowardly would you be? We chose the night so that civilians of Pakistan were not impacted. And we had a very precise, measured 22-minute operation, which was addressing the terror emanating out of Pakistan. It's just that when the Pakistan army chose to respond, we attacked their air bases. So also exposed that Pakistan army is hand in glove with the terrorism network that thrives in Pakistan. So that was the context in which I made my speech, and that it resonated with everybody around me, and people understood the impact of it is something that I'm deeply grateful for.
The difference between Pakistan and India, I thought, was best shown in the way the militaries conducted the briefings, the two militaries, and how dignified our military was in response to theirs. How much care, as you mentioned, we took on the first night of Operation Sindoor to not target civilians, whereas Pakistan used civilian airlines in the
Yes.
air as shields against India. So it says everything. I want you to talk a little bit about the geopolitics. There is a sense that the Western world has entrenched hypocrisy, that unless something impacts them directly, they don't stand in partnership and solidarity with us. that even a Daniel Pearl or the fact that 6 Americans were killed in 26/11 has not made the Western media in particular drop their hypocrisy. As you traveled from capital to capital, how did you combat this hypocrisy, and were you frustrated by it? Did you encounter a lot of this hypocrisy? What were the responses in closed door meetings?
So, as far as the six nations that we traveled to, of course, there were questions with regards to that. And you know how the speeches I've made were also words I probably used while having a very honest conversation with them. And I would give full credit to them for listening to our side and also questioning that why is there no accountability when IMF loans are handed over to them? It is their taxpayers' money which is used for the terror networks to be funded further, and it will come back to hit them hard. That is what will happen. This is the circle of terror which needs to be called out. The UNSC decision for Pakistan to co-chair an important committee on counterterrorism. How hypocritical is that? So yes, we did speak on that. We did say that it is time that Europe sits on power tables. They wield that kind of power, whether it is United Kingdom, whether it is Denmark is going to be chairing the European Union Council very soon. So we also told them that there would be a sense of responsibility to call out this terrorism, simply because it is not going to be limited to our geography anymore. The indoctrination, the extremism, the radicalization that we are seeing is also seeing violent attacks happen across the European region. So I think they quite understood where we were coming from, and this entire idea of not being able to call out Pakistan because they don't want to ruffle feathers. They would need to realize Osama bin Laden, while while Pakistan committed to America that they were in their fight against terror, they had Osama bin Laden hiding in their nation. It was US which had to go inside Pakistan and ended the life of Osama bin Laden. So from the most wanted terrorists to Al Qaeda to LET, JEM, etc. If they don't call this out now, for decades we have been at the receiving end and we have paid them back. We are prepared. We know what is coming our way. It is time for the world to be prepared that if they don't call out this entire terrorism thriving in Pakistan, they are going to be facing the brunt of it sooner rather than later.
I think when Pakistan got a UN panel on terrorism or counter-terrorism, you said it was like making Masood Azhar, the Jaish-e-Mohammed chief, a professor of peace studies.
Exactly. It is time that we called out the kind of hypocrisy that prevails. It is the United Nations which has designated 52 known terrorists residing in Pakistan, 52 or more. There are many, many more, but they have identified 52 terrorists, wanted terrorists who reside in Pakistan. All the terror camps that we hit were terror camps designated by the United Nations. So if you know that these terror camps exist in Pakistan, you know terrorism thrives there through the terrorist network that they have built, then how can you put them in charge of that? So very soon you'll probably be making Hafiz Saeed and many other such people as professors of peace and justice. So the hypocrisy needed to be called out, and I think it is time for United Nations also to relook at its role post there have been tremendous changes. A nation of 1.4 billion people, as the fourth largest economy, not having a voice at the UNSC and not being on the permanent member structure that they have, it is quite hypocritical, which I said through my speeches. And I think it is time for them to relook at how they function and what message they're sending to the world in terms of addressing terrorism.
What's the experience of dealing with the government that you have otherwise been quite critical of? You all got detailed briefings. You were trusted with matters of national security, delicate details. Talk a little bit about that experience.
So one thing I would say that in terms of the choice of people they made, and of course there was some miscommunication also that happened when they reached out to us directly, and then it was also corrected. There was a course correction that happened too, and taking everybody along, briefing us, arming us with enough information to be able to take to the world. That I think was which I have acknowledged, that government of India to understand that people of the opposition, as much as they try to call us anti-national, as much as they try to call us unpatriotic, we have done what we had to. We have done the job as part of Mission Sindoor for India. So that was one thing. But also, in all our briefings, There was nowhere where the government's role was spoken about. It was always the armed forces. That this is what has happened. These are the decisions we are taking. Terrorism has been an ongoing challenge post 1947. We thought we had got rid of Pakistan and its intention to create a separate Islamic nation, and we wished them well. However, they have gone on to move into from Pakistan to Atankistan is something which is their trajectory, while our trajectory is moving towards trade and bringing in more opportunities for the Indians that reside here and reside globally. So, having said that, those were things which I felt that right from the briefing to not insisting on making this about the government decisions or trying to say that this is a PM Modi led war on terror. It was a unified war on terrorism, cutting across political party lines, and right throughout our even delegation visits, there was no such instances, which made me say that you shouldn't have said that. This is political. This is trying to gain some brownie points. So that way, Ravi Shankar Prasad, who was leading the delegation, was very conscious about the fact that we've come as Indians first, and our political differences. Of course, we have a democracy. Priyanka Chaturvedi might go back to India and question her government, but at this point in time, she comes united as an Indian, asking you all to support this war against terror.
But I totally get that, and I think kudos to all of you for showing that political maturity and that unity. But back home here in India, there was politics, right? The Congress decided, in particular, to raise some thought, some very non-serious questions that their entire party didn't seem on board with. For example, accusing Jay Shankar of giving away war plans to Pakistan, because of which Rahul Gandhi tweeted that uh, Indian jets may have been downed. Then the sort of rhetoric got even more sharp. The Congress accused Prime Minister of surrendering. The catchphrase became Narendra surrender. And in your own party, Sanjay Raut called Operation Sindoor a failure. Now, the reason I'm asking you this is, did you, Shashi Tharoor, Manish Tiwari, find yourself in this odd position? It wasn't just you, it was like several opposition MPs, where back at home, domestic politics was playing out, and abroad you were doing this whole sort of united front. How did you deal with that? Because I'm sure it was contradictory. I don't know if you agreed with the kind of questions that Congress was raising, or the kind of comments that Sanjay Raut, your own party colleague, was making.
So I won't get to delve into what Congress was saying, and because Congress MPs will be, they are,
No.
they'd be able to answer this question. However, where we were going, I was in Western Europe. Western Europe is also a democracy. They understand how oppositions function back home, how opposition raises questions, and domestically, what was happening did not really play out on the international platform. On the international platform, we were a united front. So there was no, I'm sure they also understood where we were coming from, in the sense we've kept aside our differences back home in India, and we are here on a platform to address the cause of terrorism and to address our concerns. So those were things that I totally differentiated from what was playing out back home. Is something that you're even seeing the Prime Minister of India or the Home Minister of India undertaking several rallies and talking about how Operation Sindoor was a success story and how Operation Sindoor is a paradigm shift, etc. So they have also been indulging in their domestic politics to their domestic audiences. Similarly, it's the opposition, whether we like it, dislike it, that will play out in times to come on the domestic platform. But internationally, we all spoke in one voice, and we spoke against Pakistan and the terrorism emanating out of there.
How did this experience change you? Every moment in our lives, like 26/11 changed you, and you were not even in politics then. How did this phase of Pahalgam and Operation Sindoor change you? And one of the things you've said is that now that you're back home, you will hold the government to account, because that is your job as an opposition member of parliament. So, what are those questions that you would like to raise in the opposition bloc? There have been divided opinions on whether a special session of parliament is needed. I don't think it's happening now, because the dates for the July monsoon session have already been announced. But for you, A, how did this experience change you? And B, now that you're back home, what are the questions that you will be asking of the government?
No, I think what happened in Pahalgam was yet another reminder of Pakistan and how evil it can be in its intent. It was also something that moved my entire conversation online, where I stood in solidarity simply because what General Asim Munir was trying was trying a very evil pattern of what Jinnah tried in 1947, prior to 1947, where he tried to divide the society into on the basis of religion. What really impacted me was the absolute unity coming across sections of the country. Whether it is the 200 million Muslims in India, whether it was the Hindus, whether it was the Jains, the Parsis, the Christians, the Sikhs, everybody stood in solidarity and said, please give a response to Pakistan. And that, I think, was such a unifying yeah, and satisfying thing to see, that we all stood united in our belief that we have to now say enough is enough. So that was extremely moving. The images that were coming out of Pahalgam, especially Vinay Narwal's wife Himanshi Narwal, and seeing her cry the way she was. And it also reminded me, it took me back to the IC-814 hijack. Even Rupen Katyal and his young wife, just married, returning from their honeymoon, hijacked plane by 5 Pakistani terrorists, taking it to Kandahar. And again, UNSC has given them the chairmanship of Taliban Sanctions Committee, a country which legitimized the role of Taliban in Afghanistan, is getting the responsibility of Taliban Sanctions Committee. So those were things that played out in my mind, and I felt it was important to speak what I did and to do what I did. And it's just that those are things that kind of changed me. And yes, back home, the questions definitely are going to be on the intelligence lapses that happened, the security lapses that were there, and how do we address this. Please remember, when 26/11 happened, the home minister of the country, because the media was asking questions, the home minister was held accountable and he was asked to resign, and he stepped down. The chief minister of Maharashtra stepped down because of the outrage that was emanating from people and asking for accountability. Not that it's about stepping down, etc., but it's about accountability. Home minister will have to come and tell us where were the problems that happened, where were the loopholes that need to be covered, and how in the future we are going to avoid any terror activities rather than taking decisions post a terror activity has happened. So those are things which I think, out of concern as an Indian, as member of the opposition who has been given the responsibility to hold its government to account, these are questions we will have to ask of our home minister. Manipur continues to burn even now. So those are things that we will need to address, that how do we kind of reduce this circle of violence and make our national security stronger.
Yeah, before we let you go, as you said, now that you're home, many of these questions will arise. There's also a new parallel controversy brewing, even while the dust on Operation Sindoor is not settled, and that is the questions raised by Mr. Gandhi in Indian Express editorial on Maharashtra's electoral rolls. And not to mix up issues, but since we have you here, just as a last question, I was wondering what you thought about this, because you're such a key face of Maharashtra politics.
Let me tell you one thing, Barkha. Post the election result, there was a shock, across the state, where they were shocked with the result outcome. Not just our politicians or political parties, even the voters were in a sense of shock, and they continue to ask questions of the EVM. There is a question of rising. Voters who were enlisted between the Lok Sabha and the Vidhan Sabha elections. Then there is also the charge of last hour voting increasing to a number which is unheard of. So those are questions for the Election Commission of India to answer. And unfortunately, we haven't got any straight answers. Also, let me remind you, it's a fact that Rahul Gandhi ji, through his op-ed, has spoken about Maharashtra. But even BJD in Odisha has raised questions of the Election Commission of India's role. In West Bengal, we saw duplicate epic IDs, right? So those are, as Haryana has seen similar pattern. So what he gave an example of Maharashtra to consolidate, because all of that was seen in Maharashtra. And I think it is only fair that the Election Commission of India comes and explains everything, not just for the political parties, but also people of Maharashtra who have started to doubt the entire electoral process. And there's another pattern in Maharashtra. Please remember, in Maharashtra, to come back to power, Bharatiya Janata Party broke our party, not just our party, even the NCP. So either you win a popular mandate and form the government, or you undermine the constitution, you break parties, you bring people together the way you want to, and form a government. So those are things that people in Maharashtra are concerned about. They're keen to know these answers, and it is only fair if Election Commission of India, rather than the BJP spokespersons, come and address these concerns.
Well, there will be an inching back, as they say, to normal politics now that all of you are back home. But for now, I just want to again thank you from on behalf of We the People for the most effective job that you did in advocating for India and millions of Indians. Thank you so much, Priyanka, and keep shining. Thank you so much. Take
Grateful.
care.
Thank you so much, Barkha. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Voter Story and support independent, robust journalism.